That gator's a crazy gal, but so is the gal who promised to look after her. They said Queen Anne was just a folktale. Now there's living proof she ain't. All that trouble for a single shard. But you know what? It was worth it. Just the occasion to crack open the distillery's private reserve. Cinder brick stout sure goes down smooth, then stays in your gut like a rock. Nothing makes a gun so dangerous as a keen eye. Taught him a little something from my days on the front. To master the musket, you gotta get rid of the recoil. The marshals would have been downright jealous. The next shard should be farther out there in the wilds. That's Windbag Ranch. Perfect place to work a blade if you got the stomach for it. Windbag Ranch was built for gathering squirt extract in copious supply. Ain't nothing more healthful. Some folks showed up to make a fast buck with nothing but a knife. Other folks came to train their throwing arms. Slippery little devils. Still others use the place to test their finest blades. Kid cuts all of them down soon enough. Kid comes back from Windbag Ranch, smelling good and ripe. Over there's Camp Dauncey, where the brushers steeled themselves for secret missions. To prepare for the wilds, Ceylandia's brushers practice at Camp Dauncey. Had to navigate a maze of pincushions with nothing but a pike. It's a dangerous test for a dangerous job. Health tonics were off limits at Camp Dauncey. They said they made you weak. The rules said he couldn't use any fancy footwork, just your brains and your pike. Just getting through the course in one piece was an accomplishment. You can see why the brushers prize those pikes of theirs. To fix a brusher's pike, you just need a good length of knife bark. Any brusher's pike can cut to the bone, but that one can cut through it. Point Lemaine's Grand Rail once brought the riches of the wild right to our doorstep. Know how Ceylandia became the richest city in the world? 2 words. Point Lemaine. If the wilds could ever be tamed, it was gonna happen right here. But now, the greatest outpost past the city line is nothing but a freak show. The Army's triggers once had the place on lockdown. Kid might as well pick up where they left off. Blam! Just like my fighting days. Gun like that can even put the wilds in check. Point Lemaine seen better days for sure, but it ain't done. Whole place shudders in a fit. The grand rail of Point Lemaine. Not only is it still there, it still works. Of course, it's no longer shipping hides and alloys and spices, but it can give the kid a lift. Just as long as he can stay clear of the trouble on the tracks. Grand rails all grown over with things of calamity chewed up and spat out. Things eager to take back their turf. Kid don't let so much as one of those things slip by. Lunkheads settled in like they own the place. Not much wiggle room up there near the rail. Takes fancy footwork on the rail, what with wallflowers coughing fungus everywhere. Place used to be closed off, but now it's split open like a rotten pineapple. Of course, the Grand Rails seen much more fighting in bygone times. The Ura-Ceylondian War, 50 years ago, doomed to happen again. It was right here that Zolf's Ura forefathers decided to mix it up. Okay, so maybe we didn't get their sign-off on the whole Grand Rail thing. That was bad. The rail must have shook the Ura to the bone down in those dens of theirs. Well, the rail won't last much longer now that the kid took the shard. It's still got one good run in store for him, though. All the rotten wood there on the rails turned it into swamp weed central. Ever tried dancing side to side while holding your breath? While shooting a genuine registered army carbine? While choking on swamp weed? While peckers trying to prick you in the eye? Well, let me tell you, it ain't fun. But then, at last, it's the end of the line. Should have seen him tiptoe around those swamp weeds in his way. Turns out he's got company up at the rail station, waiting for him. Not just another wallflower or pincushion, mind you. At first, he thinks it's Zulf. Turns out he's wrong. This is for you, says the man. Then wham! When the kid comes to, the man's long gone, but something else is there. The only words kid recognizes on that parchment are for Zia. Well, what's a kid to do? He took the shard, he took the hit, and he took that note. That note cuts straight to the heart of things, don't it? Kid arrives just in time to sample Zia's famous cooking. A pair of slinger pistols is just the ticket if a hammer's too slow. Zulf's messenger was one of his people. Wonder just how many of them survived, and what exactly Zulf told him. Finding gourmet ingredients ain't easy these days, but we'll take what we can get. The note says it plain. Zia, go east to learn the truth about the calamity and our people. I'll be waiting. Sincerely, Zulf. It ain't too late to unlock the potential of this place. Ain't saying much, but that's the greatest forge in all the city. He wolfs down too much too fast, and it all goes to his head. I've said a lot about the kid, but he ain't the only one wrapped up in all this. What's he thinking? Well, let me see if I got this straight. I only heard it once. Once there was a normal Ura girl, but she wasn't born in the tassel terminals like the rest of her people. She was from Ceylondia. Her folks were orphaned in the war, taken in and raised inside the city, on condition they would never return to the terminals. Ura refugees who came into the city had to stay for life. It was a way to reduce the risk of city secrets leaking out. Her mama passed away from birthing complications, leaving the girl trapped inside that city with no one but her father. Her father was sharper than a brusher's pike, so he got a job working for the city's mancers. His daughter barely saw him. Her father told her nothing of her Ura heritage. He told her nothing of the Mansers. It's for your own good, he said. She took to studying the arts, learned more through music than history books, gained a knack for strings and songs. At first, she tried to be like other girls, but her classmates spread word that her father was an Ura trader, selling out the city. One young man stood up for her, or so he led her to believe. He knew much of her heritage, and she grew fond of him. The young man convinced her to take him to her family den to meet her father. Spoke of how he wanted to meet a man from the terminals. When the young man greeted her father in the Ura's native language, her father flew into a fit of rage and threw them out. The young man never told her that the Ura's native language is not to be used by foreigners. To do so is a terrible insult. It was then that she decided to escape. The two of them could flee the city together and go to the Tassel terminals. They would hide inside a garbage bin until it got ingested by a scumbag, then let him slosh on out of the city for disposal. Her plan almost succeeded, but the authorities were already there when that scumbag sidled up to the city walls. The young man had sent the authorities a tip, told him her father was using her to sell secrets to the Tassel terminals. She and her father were arrested for treason, but her father got a deal. Returned to work for the Mansers, and she'd go free. Before they parted ways for the last time, her father whispered a desperate plea. Hurry home to the den and lock yourself in.
One day that wall is gonna fall. Gonna build that city on a hill. Gonna build that city on a hill. Someday those tears are gonna spill.
She did as she was told, and deep down underground inside that den, she found a journal written in her father's hand.
Strong, 'cause we'll be there before too long. Gonna build that wall.
The next day, the door to the den turned to ash. The girl came up for air, and she saw the calamity all around her. When the kid wakes up, his world's still in pieces, just the way he left it. The shards are getting harder to find. That's Trigger Hill, where the Army's elite became the finest marksmen in the land. Caelandia's army only took the best, and the best of them trained on Trigger Hill. The Triggers believed they were nothing without their rifles. Nothing beats the feel of shooting a Caelandian army carbine. Sometimes you had to take care to steady your shot. The Triggers had clearance to modify their guns however they chose. Some felt the course was too easy, so the Triggers spiced things up a bit. Kid blows through that course like it was nothing. The Caelandian army would have recruited him in a flash. No risk of Culford Cauldron ever erupting again, they used to say. Guess they were wrong. Not everything blew up in the Calamity. Why, Culford Cauldron here blew up way ahead of its time. The cauldron boiled over some 300 years ago. They say it filled the skies with ash and the lakes with molten rock. If you wanted to survive something like that, you had to learn to adapt. Best to keep out of the cauldron. So in a way, the beasts of the wilds, they're all survivors too. It takes a certain stubborn pride to keep on living in a place like this. As for us, we learned an awful lot from Culford Cauldron. That learning led to some interesting inventions. The raw power of the world fell right into our hands. Playing with the cauldron's fires became an addiction. Can't fault our people for their natural curiosity now, can you? Sure, we dusted off a good many secrets out here. But we discovered other things we're better off not knowing. The unforgiving scent of sulfurous dirt. taste the air so hot it sticks to your lungs. All sorts of awful things crawling underfoot. You can cook those things, but you can't eat them. Never thought we'd find so much life in all that ash. The more ash we swept aside, the more life we found. We kept on sifting through the cauldron's secrets anyway. Place as inhospitable as they come. But still we pressed on. After all, when we look down inside Colford Cauldron, look down through all the smoke and flames, we saw in there the heart of the world. The heart now laid bare by the calamity. We had to have it. As for the kid, he just has to get that shard out of there. Too bad taking that thing woke up every last stink eye from here to Charleston Bog. Kid's thinking he's got to trek all the way back around the cauldron. Luckily, the cauldron cooked up a little shortcut for him. Sure, it ain't the most convenient path. Biggest stink eye he's ever seen's waiting for him on the other side. Pops open on him like a pimple on a school day. And where there's one stink eye, there's always more. The cauldron's tenants all gather up to bid the kid a fond farewell. Kid don't shed any tears for him, though. With a good spyglass, you can still see the cauldron from the city. But all the fires died out. There's nothing left of it. He comes back looking like the inside of a chimney. We're all a little short on friends these days, so that's a welcome sight. They said the wild could never be tamed, if only they could see us now. The shard works like a charm. You can hear the monument's heartbeat again. Seems the gods recommended this place to all their friends. Think the gods are gonna help? The culture. A still life of old unwanted keepsakes. That thing wasn't always meant to be a weapon, but there's no denying it now. Looks like our little science project is all set. The Armada sure could have used one of these back in the day. A pinch of fairy dust, and it's all set. And that's everything. Mother knows he's paid his dues in that forge. We spotted a pecker carrying a shard to Mount Zan. Grady Incinerator's where we sent off all our trash to be burned or be eaten by the wilds. Welcome to Grady Incinerator, home of the hottest wings east of Caelandia. In all seriousness, the incinerator was a dump, and it had a problem with peckers. Blasted things would swoop in and spread trash all around, until we started using fire. We couldn't just torch them all at once. We had to use restraint. Wasn't any other way to teach those peckers some respect. Who knows why we fought so hard to defend our own trash? Not much left of Mount Zan nowadays. It's like a cross between a zoo and a prison break. Can't rightly call Mount Zan a mountain anymore. There's no more mountains now. There's no place left for the beasts of the wild to go. So they figure they'll hold out right here, on a slab of mountain the Calamity forgot. Those beasts been hoarding all the valuables they could find. We only found their little lair because they found themselves a little shard. Good thing for those beasts the Calamity saved leftovers. The creatures of the wild, they've been building a bastion of their own. But they ain't yet prepared for any company. They even dragged their children into this. Without a doubt, the situation stinks. Best thing we can do for those beasts right now is put them down quick and clean. Besides, we have to take back what's ours. Even if the beasts of the wilds won't like it. What the city left behind, those beasts took for themselves. takes a lot of convincing, and our mortars have to do the talking. Look at it this way. It's either them or us. But if we win, they win too. Our Bastion is everybody's game, not just ours. Unfortunately, there's no explaining that to a simple beast. Those beasts been hard at work fixing up the place. They've rounded up their survivors, just like we have. They've been searching for cores and shards, just like we have. Maybe they've thought about turning back, just like we have. We just really need their shard. Kid got it fair and square. That's the way. He's done what's best for him, don't you worry. Don't you worry. We'll all be better off once the Bastion is complete. Fixed that thing right up, didn't we? Made these goings-on a little livelier. Suppose it's true a little song can put things in perspective. Come on, give the little tyke a break. With that mortar and hammer, he's like a one-man demolition squad. Bull brandy is thicker than paint. Makes your skin feel as tough as knife bark. The monument's getting better. Zolf sure did a number on it, though. An awful big lost and found under the circumstances. Just a couple shards left. The quarry's gotta have one, right? Boundless Bay used to be a weapons test and dry dock. Ain't never been this dry, though. Ceylondia's armada was a glorious sight, and our ship's mortars were unstoppable. At Boundless Bay, our Navy put those mortars through a rigorous inspection. Had to use squirts to simulate explosive impact on the surface of the sea. Choosing targets with those mortars was one of the trickiest parts. You could almost see the fireworks over Boundless Bay. Good thing we got to that mortar before the beasts of the wild learned how to use it. The dynasty, to the families of the city, all reunited. The secret to how we built Ceylondia so tall and proud lies in Burstone Quarry. Imagine everything you'd need to build a city like Ceylondia. It takes hard work and planning, and it also takes Burstone Quarry. The Ura tunnels beneath the quarry must have softened the blow from the calamity. Same goes for its natives, Rattletails. Rattletails ain't the worst of it either, but more about that in a little bit. The quarry came with a lifetime supply of windbags. Windbags smaller than the naked eye can see are nesting in those rocks. But there was even more to it than that. Not only are these rocks a source of life, we found that the oldest ones remember things. They're recording everything, all the time, taking it all in. No wonder all those beasts were drawn to the quarry. The rocks were calling them. Keeping the quarry free from pests turned out to be a problem. Windbags tended to the rocks, so we had to keep the Rattletails at bay. Rattletails kept tunneling in to snack on windbags. Now, why would the Ura sell off such a fascinating place? The Ura always were a superstitious lot. Might be the gods told them the quarry's bad news. In any case, it's fair to say the quarry was a godsend. Those rocks, all polished to a mirror sheen. The largest ones, you know as cores. The smaller ones, we call them shards. A shard's got a fraction of a core's power, enough to fuel a voyage to the motherland. Well, now the quarry's all dried up. These rocks are much too young to be of use. Remember how I said rattletails ain't the worst thing in the quarry? That honor goes to a beast we took to Colin, Sir Lunky. Massive thing stomped many of our boys. We just couldn't get rid of him. The only thing harder than the rocks in Burstone Quarry is Sir Lunky's head. We never could get stubborn old Lunky to leave the quarry alone. Then the kid hears a voice calling from down the hall. "Are you all right?" it says. It's him. "I've come to warn you," he says. The Bastion is under siege. Let it fall. You should not go back. Kid hears him, but he ain't about to be deterred. "If that's the way it is," he says, "then I won't stop you. Because my countrymen will." The next part's hard to talk about, no matter how many times I try. Say what you will about Zulf, but he's a man of his word. His countrymen don't much care for pleasantries, though. Too bad for that. Zolf showed him the way here, and here they came to take revenge. They got inside the Bastion and shut the door. Kid's gotta go in through the back. Should have seen this coming. Felt it in my bones. Unfortunately, they broke in and they started digging their holes. Something wrong sprung out of those holes, and it's eating away at this place. We tried to stop them, but we needed help. The Ura think they got him. They're wrong. Our little squirt, he don't make it. Somehow, some way, he sends those Ura packing. Problem is, it didn't matter. Zolf's plan worked. We find each other as the dust settles. Then I tell him why the Ura came. To get us back. For the calamity. It was Caelondia's master plan to wipe the Ura out. But part of that plan backfired, didn't it? If only Zolf knew the whole story.